Thanks. So let's take 2-3 questions, please.
Well, my name is Javier Arias from BBVA, Spain. I have one question on the for both Madam Malmström and Ambassador Gardner. It's on the well, I'm representing a bank, which is financial services, and as far as I had understood in your presentation, financial services still is not fully in the loop of the TTIP. I wonder whether that might be subject to be included. What is the scope? And I read recently that Commissioner Hill was in Washington and New York very recently, and he was really well encouraging to engage further on financial services. So where we are and where we are heading to in this regard.
Thanks.
It is true that we have not. I mean, we have started to discuss this. My colleague Jonathan Hill was in the US last week and discussed both with Ambassador Froman and with people from Treasury to try to get a clearer picture of what are the expectations on both sides on this. Of course, financial services is extremely important, so we need to discuss it. We also need to set up some sort of not an institution in any way, but some sort of a more regular body where we can touch base, where we can discuss implementation of the different undertakings that we have taken. We have some that we have decided to do after the financial crisis in Europe. The US have others. Sometimes they coincide, sometimes they don't. That's not really the point. But to see that we implement it, that we follow up, that we keep each other informed about what's going on. Also, we have some joint commitment in the G20 when it comes to money laundering and tax evasion and so on. That could be a place to discuss these issues. So we are advancing on this issue, and it's very important to keep it on the agenda. When it comes to...
Well, they are in scope. They are in scope. Financial market access is in scope, as you know, Javier. But what's not in scope, despite requests from the EU to put it in scope, is financial regulatory cooperation. For all the reasons I think you've heard now, many times, that although it is important, we think, well, 2 points. First, there are very few areas of divergence between us that have emerged, and one of them happens to be on derivatives. But we have a process that's underway in the financial markets regulatory dialogue, which we think, in our opinion, has worked. I'm told it works pretty well. We meet, I think, twice a year, once every 6 months, to address issues as they arise. And we're talking as well in other fora, the G20 included. So we continue to question whether there is a need to set up an institution, a body, an organ, in the context of a free trade agreement to deal with financial market, financial services. But I know the EU continue to make its case. On regulatory cooperation, I think there we need to distinguish between regulatory coherence and regulatory cooperation. We think that regulatory coherence is just as important, perhaps more important than regulatory cooperation. Coherence meaning good regulatory practices, making our systems not equal, and sometimes it's been misunderstood that we're trying to force on Europe our system of making regulations based on the notice and comment period, whereby anybody, anywhere in the world, can make a comment about our draft regulations, and we will respond. There will be a response to those those comments. The system is different here, but the EU is autonomously undergoing its own process of looking at how it makes its own regulations. But we're keen on making those systems more coherent. At the same time, there's discussion about cooperation in particular sectors, whether it's pharmaceuticals and cars,